the woman with the wooden bag. Everyone in town called her Mrs. M. No one really knew what the M stood for. Some said Martha. Others, Mary, but nobody ever asked her. Nobody cared enough. She was small. Fragile. Wore the same long gray coat every day, even in the summer. She carried a wooden handbag, literally made of wood, carved and worn out with age, like her hands. Every morning at 8 a.m. sharp, she walked from the edge of town to the main street shopping district. People would see her hunched figure in the distance and either cross the street or pretend to check their phones. They called her weird, old, probably homeless. And when she walked into any shop, the same thing happened. The employees would tense up, the customers would whisper, security would trail behind her, until they kicked her out, again. It was a rainy Thursday. Main Street was alive with umbrellas and honking cars. A new store had just opened, Lux & Co., a luxury boutique with golden window frames and soft music playing inside. Mrs. M stood in front of the glass door for a long moment. Her reflection stared back at her. Wet. Wrinkled. Out of place, she looked down at her wooden bag. Then walked in. The soft chime above the door rang. Heads turned immediately. The boutique smelled of vanilla candles and overpriced leather. Every shelf held purses and coats that cost more than most people's rent. "Excuse me," she said softly to the girl behind the counter. "Do you sell real wool here?" The girl barely looked up. Then, without a word, she pressed a button under the counter. Within seconds, a man in a black suit appeared. "Ma'am," he said sternly. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Mrs. M blinked. "I just wanted to ask. You don't belong here. Our products are not affordable for everyone." A tall customer near the changing rooms laughed. Another whispered, "She smells like the subway." Mrs. M's cheeks flushed. The security man took her by the arm. "I said, out." He dragged her gently, but firmly, to the door. Just as she stepped out into the cold, wet street, the girl behind the counter muttered, "You're too poor to be in here." The door shut in her face. No one saw the tear that rolled down her cheek. No one cared. But that day, they had made a terrible mistake. Back at her small, two-bedroom home at the edge of the forest, Mrs. M made herself a cup of tea and lit the fireplace. The house was simple. Quiet. No flashy furniture. No modern appliances, but every object had a story. A memory. A purpose. She sat at her wooden table and opened a drawer. Inside was a yellowed envelope with a red wax seal. It hadn't been opened in 15 years. She stared at it for a moment, then finally broke the seal. The letter read, "To my dearest friend and partner, Margaret. If you're reading this, it means I am no longer here to fight the greedy ones. The store is yours now, all 7 locations. Do not let them forget who built this empire." At the bottom, the signature of Elena Bradford, founder of Lux & Co. Mrs. M, Margaret, closed the letter slowly. Then she stood, and smiled for the first time in years. The next morning, the store on Main Street opened like usual. Same music. Same perfumes. Same snobbery. Until 9 a.m. That's when a man in a gray suit stepped through the doors, followed by 2 assistants. He asked for the manager. The girl behind the counter, the same one who had kicked out Mrs. M the day before, straightened her blouse and smiled. "I'm in charge today," she said sweetly. "Good," the man replied. "You're fired." The smile dropped. "What?" Behind him, Margaret walked in slowly, wooden bag in hand. Dry, dignified. Silent. "Who is she?" the girl asked, panicking. The man answered, "She is the new owner of this branch. Actually, of all branches. Effective immediately." The girl stuttered. "But, she's poor," Margaret said quietly. "Dirty. Old." Everyone went silent. Margaret walked past the counter. Her steps were slow, but steady. She looked at every item in the boutique, as if seeing it for the first time. Then she turned to the employees and customers and said, calmly, "Let me tell you a story. 40 years ago, Margaret began, I was a seamstress. I stitched coats in a tiny shop behind a bakery. No one noticed me. No one remembered my name. One day, a young woman named Elena came in with a broken purse. She was just a waitress back then, couldn't afford a new one. I fixed it for free. She cried and told me, one day I'll have my own store. And you'll design everything in it. We became partners. She had the business mind. I had the hands. For 20 years, we built this together. Lux & Co. wasn't just about money. It was about honoring work. Honoring women who had nothing but talent and dignity. But then she died. Cancer. And the company changed. They hid me. Rewrote the history. Told the world Elena had done it all alone. I didn't fight it. I went silent. She looked around the boutique. But yesterday, she whispered, yesterday, someone reminded me who I was. And who I still am. Her voice cracked. But her eyes burned with quiet fire. I am not poor. I am not weak. I am Margaret, and this is still my store. The girl who had insulted her stood frozen. Pale, Margaret walked up to her. She didn't yell. She didn't humiliate. She simply asked, "Do you know how much that coat you're wearing costs?" The girl nodded. It's $1,200. Margaret smiled. "I designed it. With these old, wrinkled hands you mocked." The girl started crying. I'm so sorry." Margaret paused, then handed her a small card. "Call this number. It's a free scholarship. Design school. You have a good eye, but you need a better heart." The girl covered her mouth and nodded. News spread like wildfire. The old woman who owned it all, the real founder of Lux & Co., the forgotten seamstress returns. Within days, every branch of Lux & Co. had a framed portrait of Margaret by the entrance. And below each photo, a small plaque read, "Respect is the real luxury." This place was built by hands, not headlines. Margaret didn't change much. She still wore her long gray coat. Still carried her wooden bag. But now, when she walked down Main Street, people stopped to greet her. Some asked for advice. Others asked for forgiveness. She gave both freely. One Sunday afternoon, a little girl walked into the boutique. Her shoes were torn. Her cheeks dirty. The new manager walked toward her. Kindly, "Hi sweetie. Can I help you?" The girl pointed to a red scarf in the window. "My mom's birthday is tomorrow. I only have $2. But she's always cold." Margaret, sitting in the back corner, overheard. She stood up slowly and walked over. She knelt down to the girl's height and asked, gently, "Does your mom give good hugs?" The girl nodded. "Then she deserves something warm." Margaret took the scarf and wrapped it around the girl's neck. "It's yours." The girl lit up. "Thank you, lady." Margaret smiled. "No, thank you. I used to be you." And as the child ran outside into the sun, scarf flapping behind her like a cape, Margaret whispered, "That's how we change the world." The boutique still sells luxury goods, but behind every price tag, there's a short note about who designed it, where the materials came from, and how many hours it took to create. And every morning, at exactly 8 a.m., Margaret still walks into the store with her wooden bag, not to check profits, but to check people, because Margaret never wanted power. She just wanted dignity to return to the hands that built everything. The world had tried to erase her, but in the end, they only sharpened her legend. And now, no one forgets the woman they once kicked out, because she was the store, and always had been.